Are you ready?
POWERRR. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance.
God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party.
It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
Glad you found it.
Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is J. Cal, and with me is the incomparable DKM. Mr. Mercer, how are you this evening?
Well, I'd like to run some people over with a truck. Other than that, I guess I'm excellent.
You shouldn't say that. This is being broadcasted. If you accidentally run over somebody with a truck, then they're going to know that it was premeditated.
Well, I don't have a truck.
Okay. Well, that's
so.
good.
So if I run somebody over with a truck, it'll be obvious it's premeditated for other reasons. But I'm a live broadcast, and so I have a whole bunch of people that would, be able to testify that I'm not a sane person.
I mean, okay, you got me there. You do have me there. So, besides that, how's your wrestling week been? What do you think about Keith Lee joining AEW? Your boy J. Cal adequately predicted that Jay White would be walking through that forbidden door. But what did you think about the two arrivals for AEW?
Well, my first question is, Jay White still under contract anywhere, or is he a free agent?
I believe his contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling is either close to expiring or has expired this month. I mean, Chase Owens took to his social media, to his Twitch account, and signed on his Twitch live stream. Sorry about that. He took to his live stream and mentioned that he was, re-signing, not resigning, but re-signing with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I don't know if the same options were afforded to Jay White, so maybe yes, maybe no.
I was just curious because Tony Khan made a big deal about forbidden doors and walking through forbidden doors. And the guy that was going to face, whatever his name was coming through forbidden door. And then, of course, turned out to be Keith Lee, who I love because, been able to see him here in Texas. And it's like, he's not a forbidden door guy. He was let go from his last place, and his 90-day non-compete has expired. So.
Yeah,
which other people noticed, and then Tony Khan said, well, yeah, that's why you had to bring in Jay White. But it was kind of like, I thought Jay White's contract was expired too. So
what we know about Jay White is he has been working for Impact Wrestling here in the United States. He has been working New Japan Strong, but I don't imagine that you need a separate contract to do New Japan Strong. I think that's all pretty much connected. If you're under contract to New Japan Pro Wrestling, I think if you're in the States and you work with New Japan Strong, I think that's probably all inclusive there. But yeah, I mean, it's a little strange. I think Tony might have got ahead of himself, like he said.
That's never happened before.
Sure. The dude's an eccentric billionaire. Of course he's going to say things and fly off the handle and not always make sense. I mean, how many of us have given Billy Corgan a pass? I mean, that's Tony Khan.
Well, I haven't given him a pass.
Maybe not you. Maybe not you. Hey, we have some friends here. I just want to say hi to everybody. DK and I are both fighting very rough colds, so if you see us sneeze or turn off our cameras, it's probably because we're blowing our noses. But I want to say what's up to Terry McDermott, Willie Bowen, Dave, Scooby, and Kikuchi's here in the house.
Cocoa Puffs is here?
Yeah. The other real exciting thing that happened this last week in wrestling, I don't know if you were aware of this, but Lince Dorado, who was released from the WWE, he made his debut back on the independents. In fact, over with our friends at Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, they held an event at the Rowan University Student Center. These shows are specific just for the students at Rowan University, but it can be said without a shadow of a doubt that Lince Dorado, when he made his return to the Indies, it started off at Dog. What do you think about Lince Dorado coming back to the Indies?
Well, I mean, came back in an area he wrestled up in that area before he went, right?
Quite a bit.
So he kind of came back home. So I think it's exciting that for all the places that he could have shown up there in that, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania area, he came back to Dog. So go Dr. Z.
Well, the other thing about that is our pal Lince Dorado. I say our pal. I've never met the guy. His experience with the NWA was pretty significant. I mean, he used to wrestle many places that were affiliated with the National Wrestling Alliance. We're talking Ring Warriors. We're talking Florida Underground with the Sheik's old promotion, Pro Wrestling Fusion, also known as NWA Florida. He spent a lot of time down there, and then in the Northeast, wrestling for Force One Pro Wrestling. That was a part of the NWA. NWA Dog, NWA New Jersey. I mean, he really did spend some time with the NWA. So, especially in the Northeast. But I thought it was pretty cool to see him come back to Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. With that being said, the fact that he's a junior heavyweight, I mean, that begs the question: do you think maybe Billy Corgan might be opening up his eyes to some of this talent that's been recently released from the WWE?
I mean, from everything I've heard, Billy Corgan, of course, is interested in a lot of the talent. It's just working out deals with them. And, but since he kind of goes almost on a 3-month cycle, it would be cool to bring in Lince Dorado for, if you're not going to put a title on him, at least bring him in, let him have a run at the title. I would certainly enjoy that. He's a talented guy, one of the many that was misused by the people in Connecticut. And so, and probably somebody, honestly, is not going to do anything anywhere other than like NWA, ROH, maybe MLW. I don't know. I never know what to think of MLW anymore. So, that's funny you bring up MLW, because that's the one I didn't think about. I thought, he'd be a perfect fit for Impact's X division. I mean, I could see him fitting in with AEW, but I can also see him getting lost in the fold there too. I mean, I'm not trying to downplay the guy, but it's not like they have a shortage of guys who can do that lucha libre style of wrestling. There's no shortage of that in AEW, the high flying, fast paced style of wrestling. I don't know if that's where a good fit for him, but like you just said, the NWA, MLW. I mean, somebody of his of his celebrity, his star status, I think would boost the junior heavyweight division for sure, and I think could have a lasting impact in MLW. I know our buddy Danny Limelight wants to fight him. That would be a good match. That would be a fun match to watch. Hey, I don't know how many of our fans out there follow AEW. Again, I actually watched it last night as it happened. Something I haven't done in a long time. Didn't wait for the review this morning. In fact, I haven't even heard the review from this morning yet. That's how my day's gone.
Yeah.
And but one of the things I noticed last night, especially with the arrival of Keith Lee and stuff, if there's a legitimate complaint that the NWA has too many titles for its roster, I almost begin to think AEW may be in the reverse.
I agree.
I don't think you need to do a WWE thing and have 50 titles.
No.
But it's almost like, man, there's a lot of people there. They have 2 women's championships, and they put one on a rookie who honestly isn't that good, and don't seem to have any plans to take it off for the foreseeable future. And nobody come on here and tell me about, well, Goldberg didn't have any talent, or Goldberg got over. And he didn't get over right away, which is something a lot of people don't realize. He had actually been hanging out for a while. It wasn't until they kind of stumbled on his idea of a streak where they didn't count some disqualification losses that he had and other things. And somebody claims he was actually pinned once early on. But it wasn't until that he really kind of bounced, in the fact that everybody hated all the old Hogan and Nash and everybody else. They just wanted anybody new.
I was at the Nitro television taping at the Cox Arena in San Diego, California, when Bill Goldberg and what's his name? Oh gosh, help me out. Horseman, the football player turned wrestler.
Mongo?
Yeah, Mongo. Mongo had his Super Bowl ring stolen by Goldberg, and that was the angle that they were going to start off Goldberg's career with in the WCW. I'm glad that got abandoned relatively quick.
Well, he was brought in for that. He was brought in to feud with, I can't remember his first name, but Mongo McMichaels.
Yeah, Steve McMichaels.
Yeah, Steve. And yeah, he was brought in. They had pictures of them staring at each other when they were in football or whatever there. And that was his purpose when he got in. And when they kind of dropped that, they didn't really have anything for him. So they just kind of sent him out there to, have his short matches and win. And eventually he got over doing that. Which, by the way, goes to show that winning matters. Because that was about the only thing he had for him, was that he would go out there and he'd win, and he typically would win quickly. So, and now he's 50-something, and he wrestles twice a year, and normally in one of them's a title match. Which is a 50% chance that he'll win when he wrestles one of those title matches. So I don't know what to make of it.
And it's I know this is an NWA show, and we'll get back to it in just a moment, but now that we're on a tangent here, we're just going to go a little bit further into it. The thing about Goldberg is the reason why they keep bringing him back is because it keeps working. It pops the audience. And that, if they brought him back and nobody cared, I don't think that WWE would keep bringing him back. It's that it gets mainstream attention. It gets people talking. And even at his advanced age, I heard today, if Goldberg wins the title, he will be the oldest WWE champion, even older than when Vince McMahon won the title. That blew my mind.
That is kind of freaky, isn't it? But we still have a chance for Shane to come back and win the title. So, despite what everybody said, Shane was not fired. He was sent home. They're never going to release him from his contract. It's just whether he'll earn any money, or just get it as a handout.
It's going to be an awkward Thanksgiving dinner.
No, well, nobody cares. And here's the thing: is the number of people that thought he was going to show up in AEW, or the number of people that think he and Triple H are going to start their own promotion or whatever. Stop smoking the crack.
It's not crack; it's marijuana.
Stop smoking the pot. Stop dropping acid. Stop doing whatever it is you're doing.
It's not me.
So you claim. But all the people out there with all these crazy ideas. So Willie Bowen is right. Goldberg, it wasn't the NWA U.S. title by then. It was the WCW U.S. title. But Goldberg did beat Raven for a U.S. title that has a history that goes back to the NWA U.S. title.
Yeah.
The Crockett Promotions version. Oh, my God. But anyway, my simple question was that got us on this tangent is, does AEW not have enough titles? I know they talked about a trios title, and maybe they need a 3-tier system with their championships, because I don't know, the TNT title is pretty occupied, and I don't see anyone not being a former WWE star or one of the executive vice presidents being a top challenger for the world title anytime soon. They said Tony Khan had picked his first 4 world champions before he got started, and that went according to plans. I don't know if he's picked the next 4 or not.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. The way, one of the interesting things that AEW did with that Forbidden Door is that it allowed other champions to come to and defend the belt. So, like when Kenny Omega won the AAA Mega Championship, I don't think he ever defended it there, but he was recognized as the AAA champion. Likewise, FTR is currently your AAA Tag Team Champions. And, Moxley brought the New Japan, it's not the IC title, it was the US title, right? The IWGP US Championship. So it's kind of cool. I mean, when they had those belts coming into the promotion, maybe you didn't need additional titles because it looked like you could do these other storylines from other companies on your TV. But when that kind of dried up, you're not seeing a lot of title matches from New Japan talent. You're not seeing, obviously, the Impact title is no longer featured in AEW. And, I don't think you're going to see a return of any NWA champions to AEW. So all of that being said, I think I do agree with you that they should probably maybe look into adding more titles, but which one? You said like the trios. That makes sense because you get more bang for your buck, and they've got a lot of little factions already on the program, or maybe like a junior heavyweight or some sort of open weight division. Like that might be fun too.
Yeah, I don't see them doing like a junior heavyweight because too many of their heavyweights would fit in the junior heavyweight division.
Yeah,
but I mean, I can see. I mean, I don't know. I could see something where just AEW not world champion.
Yeah.
Type thing. So it would be interesting at least. Trio title would make the most sense because, like I said, you get the most bang for your buck. You can get more people as a champion without necessarily having to loop the others. But, I mean, we already see Ruby Soho. Everybody was so excited for her to go to AEW, and she's basically in the same boat. I don't see much of her, and she's not winning any major titles. I mean, she basically comes in to lose to the champion, which is something AEW's been bad about. They bring in new people for the purpose of losing. Kind of to get us back on track, NWA and Mike Knox.
That's a you went a long way to get us there, but you certainly got us there.
Well, Mike Knox has wrestled 3 times, 2 of them for the World Championship, and he's lost both of those by clean pinfall.
How do you feel about that? Like, I mean, I know you and I have discussed, Kevin has said it too when Jaden has been on with us. We've all talked about there isn't a really accurate top 10. There isn't there's no valid list of challengers for that World's Heavyweight Championship. And, to the detriment of Trevor Murdoch's run as world champion, wrestling Attila Khan, wrestling Gangrel. All of these matches would be fine if he came back to an NWA ring and then would wrestle against Jack Stane or Anthony Mayweather or somebody of that stature. But instead, I mean, you're getting guys who are coming in from outside the company who have a win-loss record to base their accolades off of. So their opportunity to challenge for these titles without the acclaim, it feels very hollow to me. What do you think about it?
I mean, I basically agree. It's somebody on one of the Discord servers that I hang out on was talking about how they'd be, I guess it was Chris Dog, was talking about how, he'd be so happy if Cardona won the title. I'm like, man, that would make me sad if Cardona won the title. And not because I have anything for or against Matt Cardona, but it's just more of the same. It's like, if he wins, and he's not Cody.
No.
It was one thing to hot shot the title to Cody, where you had that, I did 2 of them, pictures of Cody and Dusty side by side with the NWA belt. That was one thing. Cardona's not in that situation. And I think he's another one. Jay left me. He abandoned me. Oh, well, I can still talk. I think he's another one that, you may get the people that follow him come in for a little while, but you probably won't keep any of them once he's gone, or very few. So I don't know what you do with him other than you use him to get Murdoch over. But if you want to use him to get Murdoch over, then Murdoch has to look strong, and they have to stop this, beating him up after every title win. And I don't know if Jay is gone. I guess so. So let's look and see what you all have to say about some of this stuff. Let's see. Dave Scooby says NWA needs to bring in challengers for Trevor due to them not elevating the current talent. And we've said that before, is that they don't they don't present the wrestlers in a serious way. I mean, I don't find that we've talked about Jordan Clearwater. He's not presented seriously. You can't present Black G seriously. Colby, you can present semi-seriously. They haven't really, but you could in the junior heavyweight division. But obviously, he's not going to be a top 10 heavyweight challenger. And then you got everybody else saying, all the credible people saying, well, we're not going to challenge for the title right now. And so, who is it? They could do a story with Jack Stane. It looked like they were going to do a story with Jack Stane. Some people were excited over the idea of them doing a story with Jack Stane. But nothing came of it. And so I don't know what the thing is. Let's see. Looking at some other things. Terry McDermott goes, the wrestling world just needs one good matchmaker and post their matches on YouTube. Nothing else, plain and simple. I would kind of agree with that. I mean, you need the occasional promo, but to get people hyped. James H. Jackson Jr., they used who they could in year 1 and in 2 in AEW, and now they'll snatch up every former WWE guy and gal. The company lets go and get rid of most of the AEW originals over there in years 1 and 2, and that's probably true too, and that's the way life goes. Of course, they shouldn't have signed most of the people they signed in the early years because there were other people out there. And then I don't know if the Briscoes are still under contract to ROH until the end of March or what, but apparently they're not signed, which is sad. And the thing is that ROH has basically said they'll let anybody go who wanted out. So I don't know what that is.
there's something about that sweet free money for doing nothing and still getting your indie dates through, Game Changer Wrestling and whoever else will book you. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, they signed the contract. They should get that kind of money. I like what Sean Mega said, and I know you don't like this, but Cardona should win the title and then drop it to the Pope. Now we'll get into the Pope promo, but that Pope promo, and I'm a big Pope guy to begin with. You guys know that. I don't make any qualms about it. That might have been the single best promo that I've seen on NWA Power since day one. And we'll talk more about that later.
At least the last time Pope did a promo.
That's 100% for sure. Kikuchi says, is Big Chris Dog the next pole jump? And the answer is they were always the same person.
Oh, now don't insult Big Chris.
No, hey, look. First of all, pole jump, if you're out there watching, I love you, buddy. And Chris Dog, I love you too. But what Chris is asking for right now is the same thing that pole jump was asking for 10 years ago, and that's bigger names to be involved with the NWA. Now, things are different 10 years ago. We didn't have a rock star owner of the NWA who had millions of dollars at his disposal. But at the same time, why am I going to spend millions of dollars on talent when I've got a fan base that will order every single pay-per-view that I put out, will buy up all the tickets even without a card announced? I mean, we kind of do it to ourselves by being a rabid fan base, by trying to support this product, by supporting it overabundantly. You're not giving them a desire to go out there and spend money on top free agents that will draw. Why would they need to do that?
Well, because they want to grow.
Sure.
Would be the ultimate answer. And the thing is, if you go back and you look at when wrestling was making a lot of people a lot of money to live their life, you're looking at times when, Georgia and Mid-Atlantic and world class, a small crowd, a small town at a spot show was 1,500 to 2,000 people. How many indie shows draw, we got excited when NWA sold 800 tickets. And, they did it for 2 nights or whatever, and it was like the biggest thing. World Class drew 4,000 to 4,500 every week in Dallas for 3 years. I mean, think about that. And that wasn't even a top-selling market compared to, other markets in the country. They drew 1,500 to Fort Worth on a Monday night. Every Monday. And, Atlanta could draw 6,000 every other Friday. It's just, I mean, you watch some of the big college wrestling shows, put on by like Penn State and Ohio and Nebraska and a lot of those major college wrestling colleges. I mean, they can draw, anywhere from 5,000 to 15,000 fans for a show to watch college wrestling.
Yeah.
And, I'm supposed to be impressed that, NWA can sell 3,000 pay-per-views and 600 or 800 tickets for one of their shows. I mean, it doesn't work for me, dog. We have such low expectations, such low understanding especially people who weren't around in any of the glory ages, that we go, oh my gosh, this company is drawing 1,000 people. They must be the hottest, biggest, bestest indie on the planet. Dude, that's pathetic. They come run once a month. Or in some or like in a lot of cases, they come and run a town once a year. You know, they're somewhere else in the next month. That's sad. That's why I don't like it when people go, oh, we're in a wrestling's more popular today than it hasn't. Well, don't go much past 15 years, because if you do, you're kidding yourself.
I also think that one thing you have to take into consideration is how we as consumers consume our content, right? Because if you go back 40 years ago, right? You go back to 35 years ago when Ric Flair's out there wrestling in every state and every territory and every big city all up and down the Eastern Seaboard. There wasn't, 20 plus hours of wrestling on TV a week. And, we could watch for free, completely free, just close to 20 hours of wrestling a week, right? I mean, Monday nights you get 3 hours, and then Tuesday nights you could find who runs Tuesday? MLW?
Well,
no, NXT.
You can, Raw for 3 hours on Monday, NXT for 2 hours on Tuesday, AEW for 2 hours on Wednesday, Impact, if you can find them, for 2 hours on Thursday, and then SmackDown for 2 hours on Friday, and AEW Renegade for an hour. But here's the thing. Yeah, you can watch that much wrestling if you choose to. But do you want to? I mean, ratings are at all-time lows. And yeah, I understand that there's, streaming now and you can do things differently. And there are some things you can't do now like you used to back in the day. You can't have the same main event, in 15 straight towns with the same results, because that all gets, a lot of that gets posted now. But, there's nothing that says every bit of your content has to be on the internet.
It's true too.
I mean, there's nothing that there are a lot. In fact, you'll find a lot of the successful indies don't put a lot of their content out there, because you remember when TNA started up.
Yeah.
And so they were doing the weekly pay-per-views.
Yeah.
And they were actually going to do a touring schedule. The first one was like in Alabama or something like that.
Yeah.
And they were going to do a touring thing. And they were selling the ticket prices at normal ticket prices for a bigger event. Well, they were selling a pay-per-view for $10 and tickets for $20. Or even on the lower end of 10. So guess what happened? People said, I can stay home, not have to travel, not put up with people, and spend less money. Not go to the concession stand, not buy, whatever, not pay for the gas, not pay for the 3 kids. And it lasted all of, I think, 2 weeks that they did that. Because I think by the second week they were in Nashville, and that's where they stayed. Because you couldn't sell tickets at the right prices when you're offering the product at a better price at home on TV.
Yeah.
Back in the day, TV was an infomercial. It's what sold you the show.
Right.
And I think some of that's probably something that's missing today. Now even with WWE, their house shows are basically to sell you the television show.
So let's kind of move on from that, because we could spend all day talking about the differences between then and now. I see some of the comments in the chat. Let's get to that, and then we'll start talking about Power Trip and Crockett Cup and the latest episode of Power and more.
USA.
And don't forget USA. Some of the comments I saw were pretty funny here, or interesting. Dave Scooby says that the NWA needs to bring in challengers for Trevor due to them not elevating current talent. Push who you have and get them over, even if they don't go over. I mean, that's pretty simple. I think, there's a lot of guys on the roster that would benefit from a program with Trevor Murdoch, and they just haven't had that. James H. Jackson says the NWA needs to hire Bookham Gabe. And if that's Gabe Spolowski, I'm all for it. I think he would be a breath of fresh air to this brand and the product. Sean Mega says, Terry, the NWA USA has been good and simple so far. And that's in response to Terry's comment about having a simpler formula for pro wrestling. Sean Mega says, maybe Jack Stane is next in line. And that might be true, but, I mean, we got to get there. We've been dealing with Mike Knox since November, and the rumor of Matt Cardona since December, and here it is February, and the storyline is just grinding so slow because of the taping schedule and the fact that their premier live events haven't really been in sync with the TV. At least now we know for Tried and True's co-promotion, the co-op, if you will, Power Trip, we'll have that title match. So I kind of feel like maybe things will start progressing for either that storyline to conclude or at least make it a little bit more interesting. Kikuchi says they have done a story with Jack Stane. It's just been a bedtime story. And that stings, because we all love Jack Stane here. We've had him on this podcast. He's a hell of a guy. We wanted to see Trevor versus Jax. We thought we were going to get it, and they pulled the rug right from underneath us. And I kind of feel like Jax might feel the same way. I recently saw him post a photo on Instagram of the 10 pounds of gold, and maybe he's thinking, I miss that girl. Maybe he wants a relationship with Miss Charlotte in the future.
He's a married man.
Well, yes, but titles don't count. You know that more than anybody. You're a married man. You got more belts than anybody. You're like Ultimo Dragon walking around the house.
Sometimes.
James H. Jackson says, y'all feel Power needs to only be 30 minutes as well? Sometimes, yeah. Oh, is that the new one? That's pretty. I don't know if I need it to be 30 minutes. I just wish it was more succinct in its booking in the stories. And, promos need to be cleaner and more in sync with the program. Willie Bowen says the NWA shouldn't mess up like when Eli Drake should have wrestled Nick Aldis for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. Put Jack Stane versus Trevor Murdoch in a championship match. I couldn't agree more. I think
I was going to say, and that's an excellent point, is there were a lot of people that want to see Eli Drake and Nick Aldis go at it. And instead what we got was that horrible relationship with ROH twice.
Yeah.
And, come on, people. Simple. And I think we'll talk more about that here when we talk about USA, because I loved USA this week.
Yeah, it was a solid program. Probably the best NWA program ever.
Yeah, I'll agree.
Sean Mega says the Briscoes probably want to be independent for the rest of their career. I mean, there's something to be said about that guaranteed income and that spotlight that you could get from going to a place like AEW or even Impact. I don't know if that's on their bucket list, if you will, but guaranteed money and the spotlight. They've only got maybe another 5 or 6 years. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I don't. You can't wrestle forever. At some point, you do have to walk away, unless your name's Terry Funk. And neither one of them, it's Mark and Jay, not Terry. So Dave Scooby says they seem to be pushing a few talents for the possible junior heavyweight challengers, Darius and Colby, to name a few. Yeah, and that's great. It's good that they're starting to do that for the junior heavyweight division. But I mean, let's make no qualms about it. The national title has mostly been disregarded by the NWA. We haven't seen an actual national title match since the pay-per-view, nor have they really even come up with a proposition that they would have a title match. The number one contender is Mayweather. For what reason? Because he lost to Mims, or they had that rollout Mims match, or it's kind of silly. He just said, "I want a shot at the title," and then he got it. It doesn't really it doesn't lend any kind of credibility to the belt that he didn't have to beat anyone. I see you guys have a lot of comments, but we have a lot of stuff to get to. So we'll get back to some of your comments in a minute. But I did want to bring up that, NWA has announced their premier live event this week. We got some NWA news in that we've got a world's heavyweight title match. In fact, that was announced last Friday. Billy Corgan announced via social media, YouTube, all that good stuff, that he would make the match between Matt Cardona and Trevor Murdoch a world's heavyweight title match at the premier live event for Power Trip. Now, some of you might be saying, "Oh God, I hate this guy, Matt Cardona. I don't want him anywhere near the title." And there's a lot of variables to this. This isn't science here, but just an observation that prior to the announcement of Matt Cardona challenging for the 10 pounds of gold, there were 139 tickets remaining for Power Trip in Oak Grove, Kentucky. Since the announcement's been made, there are now 19 tickets remaining. Now, I'm not saying specifically that Matt Cardona sold an extra 130 tickets to this event. It was 2 weeks ago that they were at 139. It was as of 5 minutes ago that I checked that there's 19 tickets remaining. Some people are just buying as it gets closer to the event, but there should be something noted that perhaps Cardona is a little bit more of a draw than maybe we thought he was.
Well, let's be honest. He should be.
Right.
I mean, if you're bringing him in, that's what you want to see. And I'm sure there's a mix. I'm sure there are people who are going to see Cardona, and I'm sure there's people who, like I said, have waited last minute. And when they were doing their Empower and 73rd, 73rd sold pretty well, and Empower was behind. Then the next thing you know, they are both sold out. So,
yeah.
The thing is, you would hope that announcing something like that would jump ticket sales, because if it doesn't, then you've really effed up.
Yeah.
Is Cardona not cheap?
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine he is. I mean, but maybe he is, because I also see this guy working for, of course, Game Changer Wrestling, but now he's popping up in River City Wrestling. I've seen his name attached to quite a few shows, actually. And so for him to be a part of the NWA, as well as continuing his relationship with Game Changer, working for Impact, working pretty much everywhere. I mean, you have to respect the hustle, that's for sure.
I do respect the hustle, and I do think that I don't think Impact is having a problem making his making his price, and I doubt Game Changer is. But I mean, I've talked to people who have tried to book him, and they've all said he ain't cheap.
Okay.
Not saying he's the most expensive guy out there, just, you would want to make sure you got your money back, if you're going to book them.
Right.
So
our good pal Jaden has joined us in the live stream. Jaden, how are you today, my friend?
Don't insult me by calling me Kikuchi.
I wasn't going to call you Kikuchi. I was going to call you a kleptomaniac because you stole my
because I always steal the show. That's why.
Sure, let's go with that.
It's getting sick.
So what's up? I heard you guys like to talk about the NWA. Anything good going on?
I don't like to talk about it's an exaggeration.
We were talking about Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators earlier I don't know if you know this, Jaden, but you guys were the first group, and I mean you guys because I know you work for Dr. Lawrence Zirconium. You guys were the first group to get Lindsay Dorado back on the indies, and I think that's pretty cool, man. So high five to you, Dr. Z, and the entire crew at Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators.
Yeah, I was at the Rowan event where the Rowan alumni, Lindsay Dorado, made his return to professional wrestling in the independent scenes. Dog gave him his home before he was a name out there. Dr. Z and myself have been working with him before he even had a mask. So a very talented wrestler, and an excellent match with a longtime rival, the Prince of Camden, Deshaun Pratt. Deshaun Pratt is a former challenger, two-time challenger for the World Wrestling Grand Prix Championship too.
Yeah.
So that was a really big matchup for both of them. They grew up together. They went to wrestling school together. They debuted together. So it was like a homecoming for both of them. And it was a great event. I mean, the Dog Tag Team Championships, unfortunately, were not defended. The Brick City Boys had an injury, but the WWGP Championship was defended also. And that was great because Chris Steeler defeated Adrian Soriano from Ring of Honor. And, of course, Ray Jazz successfully defended the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators heavyweight champion against the most marketable Richard Holiday of MLW fame. And that was a great matchup.
Yeah, and I did see, if you go to the dogprowrestling.com website, there actually has the entire show there. Now, I know that wasn't filmed by Dog, but the fact that us commoners could actually watch the show because that show was presented for the students at Ronin. So if you guys want to check out some cool wrestling, I would say go to dogprowrestling.com and check out that match, as the entire event is up there and you can watch it. I think his name was Colton Cash. I think that was his name. Big guy. And I saw him and I thought, man, that guy would be perfect for the NWA. Big dude. He would fit right in there. I like the show. Let Dr. Z know that I would have been happy to pay for that show, but I'm glad I got to watch it for free.
Well, you probably couldn't have had to pay for it because Dog doesn't run shows. They run events. But it was great, and it was I was not expecting the Rowan Television Network to broadcast it live on the internet, and it was also the Rowan newspaper called The Witch was also there, and they talked to both Lindsay Dorado and another former Rowan alumni, Ty Thomas. They put them both in that paper talking about them. So that's a lot of publicity at Rowan. They really do love their dog wrestling, and I know Dr. Zirconium had nothing to do with the name, but Raw Soulmania is really big in the Rowan circles, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Dog does next year.
Maybe it'll be a Royal Rumble.
Oh, great!
Don't give me any ideas. I'm sorry. Okay, so let's get.
We have you here.
Why did everyone leave the chat? Where did everyone go? Going back to Power Trip, the announcement was made. It's going to be a world title match. So if we run down just the card that we have the photos for real quick, we have Colby versus Rhett. We've talked about these matches already, so we'll just go through it real quick. You've got the Idol Mania Sports Management and Full Force versus Rush Freeman and Alex Taylor of the Ill Begotten, Scion and Mims. Then you have this Chelsea Green versus Kylie Ray. That match looks to be that might steal the whole damn show right there. You've got the I Quit match between Nick Aldis and Thomas Latimer. You've got the Anthony Mayweather versus Chris Adonis for the NWA National Championship. And then, of course, you've got the Burke on the line, Kamille versus Taryn Terrell. And I don't have a graphic for it, but we also have the World's Heavyweight Championship going to be defended against Matt Cardona. So that show is shaping up, and that takes place Saturday in 2 days. So if you don't have your tickets and you plan on going, make sure there's only 19 tickets remaining. So if you want to be a part of this big event in Oak Grove, Kentucky, make sure you visit nwatix.com and buy your seat. Supposedly, you have to pay for the entire seat, but you won't be using it.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Remember, I'm already suffering from a cold headache, Jay. I don't need your help.
Hey, we're in the same boat, buddy.
Let's talk about something positive.
NWA USA?
Yeah.
Okay. What did you want to tell me about NWA USA?
Well, first of all, I think anybody that thinks that Raven's a worse choice than Austin Idol should be flogged.
I actually really liked Raven on commentary. I know that he didn't seem overly excited, but at the same time, if you followed Raven, his career, he's never been overly excited.
I was going to say, did they watch his ECW stuff, or are they just going based on some kind of name?
Like,
Raven is a dark and brooding character. He's not a flamboyant or loud or even just a, rah, rah, rah. I mean, his whole thing is he's kind of a soft talker. He's disinterested, doesn't, what about Raven? That was his gimmick. What about Raven? What about me? When do I get for Raven? Something I can very much relate to, because that's the way I am. What about me? And so, but I used to mute the commentary because, someone posted in one of the Discord things something about, Austin Idol, and I go, wow. They go, he has energy. It's like, that's not energy. That's annoyance.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a difference. Energy pumps you up and makes you excited. He's like a scratching on the chalkboard. You just kind of scream and stick your fingers in your ears and run away as far as you can.
Unfortunately, in a lot of the circles, unfortunately, that I've been around for the years, cocaine gives you energy. Doesn't mean you want to be around anybody who's doing cocaine. So, yeah, that's what Austin Idol is. It's kind of like the bad cocaine trip of the NWA.
Right. Bad every trip of the NWA. So anyway, that was just my first thing. So I've gotten that off my chest. So setting that aside, now some people claim he made Velvet more annoying, and I don't know that I would agree or disagree with it. I thought she was equally as annoying. And I did think that they both had a tendency to speak over Joe Galley when he was actually talking about the match, which is something that annoyed me. But we're going to set that apart aside because it's a billion times better without Austin Idol.
Agreed.
So then I'd make the argument this may have been one of the best shows that NWA has put out under the Billy Corgan era. And if we look at the show, it had 3 matches. That's more than they normally have. They normally only have 2. But as we go through the show, we're going to look at what made it good and why it seemed like things had meaning. So, Jay, why don't you kick us off? How'd the show start?
That's you're catching me off guard. I didn't have notes on that. I did watch the show, but I'm only going off memory. I know.
You didn't take notes.
Not on this one. You know what? I as of right now, I'm going to start taking notes for USA, but previously I had not been taking notes for USA, so I do apologize.
No, I'm just saddened. I'm saddened by the idea that he did not take notes.
Well, yeah, I actually want to side with Jay on this one. I watched it too, and I don't remember one of the matches. That's kind of bad, I guess.
Well, I remember the matches. Like we had the qualifying matches. We had the semifinals of Darius Lockhart and Ira Daivari. We had the matchup with Luke Hawx and Austin Aries. But the show kicked off with Tom Latimer and May Valentine and Chris Cardona, Strictly Business. And the crux of this interview was that May Valentine could have kind of took Chris Adonis to task and said, hey, man, you're the national title. This show is supposed to be about your title. When the heck are you going to defend it? And his answer was actually pretty good, and that was, when are you going to find me some decent competition? And, I mean, tell me he was wrong. Tell me he didn't make an excellent point that the NWA hasn't really lined anybody up that makes sense for that title, right? I mean, we're going to get Mayweather, but even that was just like, because Mayweather wants a shot. He didn't do anything to earn it.
What I liked was the way she had said it, though. She goes, when are we finally going to see him? Which, let's be honest, that's been a lot of our attitudes. That's why I like May. She has a tendency to say the things that the fans are kind of saying. So, and Don's like, what are you trying to imply? I'm not the most fighting champion? And she's like shaking her head, yes, I'm implying that. I'm outright stating it.
There's no implication. It's fact.
Yeah, stuff like that. So it was just like, it was a fun little interview, and it was fun because it was simple. I mean, May basically asked two questions. Vladimir responded to one. And, we're talking about the recent loss to the British invasion. And then she asked Adonis about defending the national title. And, he kind of gave his little starting answer. And it was done.
Yeah.
That she asked a question to each of them. Both of them responded. The responses made sense for the characters they are. And it was done. Nobody interrupted them. There was no, arguing with May. I mean, they kind of did that, oh, May, But, there was two questions, two answers. Answers were in character. It was nice. So I think that led us to the first match.
And that match was Darius Lockhart against Aria Daivari. Now that match was really hard hitting. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought it was a lot better than I thought it would be because, there's so many unknowns to me about Darius Lockhart. I don't know who he is as a competitor in the ring, but he really did show a lot of heart in his match. Daivari, Daivari's a very skilled wrestler, and he's wrestled for some of the biggest companies in the world. So for Lockhart to get that upset victory, I felt like was very telling, not only for what the NWA has planned for Darius Lockhart, but just in general to see somebody get an opportunity like that with somebody who's highly regarded like Aria Daivari.
I think this is the match where he actually suffered the injury that kept him off the pay-per-view. I don't know that he actually had a concussion, but I think he got his bell rung, so to speak.
Okay.
And that's remembering this was taped before the pay-per-view. He was supposed to be in the gauntlet match of the pay-per-view, and it was kind of like they decided not to put him in it. And so I think this match, but yeah, it was a good junior heavyweight title match. It was not title match, but a tournament match. It's kind of what you'd expect out of some junior heavyweights. A lot of good wrestling, some technical wrestling, a little bit of aerial stuff. You said hard hitting. I mean, I was not short. They gave it time to breathe. Was not too long to where, kind of got bored and go, well, is this thing ending? That was going to end 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So it was the right amount of time. Both guys are talented. Both guys went out there and wrestled. It was a one-on-one match, and they did professional wrestling. Wasn't a lot of sports entertainment or anything like that. So I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this match a lot. I do agree with Dave Scooby here, who goes, he needs to drop the flying carpet.
Yeah, I don't care for it. I think it's cheap heat. I don't see it get over. Like, I don't hear the crowd pop for it. I don't hear them boo for it. So it's almost like it doesn't do anything. It doesn't make the move look cooler. It doesn't make the crowd react. It's time to let it go. Jaden, did you happen to watch any of the NWA USA?
Yeah, I did. Remember, I couldn't remember any of who was on it. But I will tell you about the flying carpet. That's technically a foreign object.
That's a good point.
Technically, based on the rules of professional wrestling that the NWA claims to follow, that should be a disqualification, whether, especially if he hits it.
That's a good point as well.
You're not wrong. But
I'm never wrong.
What did you think of the overall match?
I actually like Jordan Clearwater. I was very impressed with him. It's my first time really getting a real good look at him, and I liked him a lot. Arya Davari, Lockhart. Yeah, I got him confused. But Lockhart, yeah, he's a good kid. I liked him. He had some talent. And Arya Davari, I think he got off a little better off than his former partner, Tony Nese, because at least the NWA was showcasing and using Arya Davari right. He came from the 205 Live and for WWE and had a little bit of a lot of TV time if you consider watching 205 Live TV time. But I think he made off better because, like I said, the NWA is showcasing him, using him, putting him in good matches. What has Anthony Nese been on TV like once and he lost?
Yeah.
So, that shows maybe that Nese should have thought more about his career or something, and maybe came to the NWA where he could have probably been the heavyweight champion, let alone the junior heavyweight champion.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, it's a different set of circumstances, right? But I think all in all, it was a pretty good match, and it really set the story for the night. Even more so than that, it gave us an opportunity to see, Darius Lockhart, like I said, how they're promoting him, how they're going to be pushing him going forward. And then that brings us to the next segment where we've got Tim Storm and Mae Valentine and Kenzie Page in the back. And, this storyline is so bizarre to me because, Natalia Markova and Kenzie Page are getting a ton of camera time on NWA USA, probably more than any other women's feud in the NWA right now. And I don't quite get it. Can either of you explain why we're getting so much of this?
Bad booking.
I mean, I can explain Markova, who's somebody if booked correctly is, has the chance to get over to be a real challenger to Kamille. I don't know necessarily that this is what you do. This was probably the weakest segment on the show. I didn't hate it. And again, I think we end up with May Valentine making the great point of why was Kenzie Page, suspended and not Markova?
Yeah,
And, it's something they actually put out on, Twitter or something like that, to which my response was suspend them all. And Tim Storm liked it. So apparently he realizes he should have suspended everybody.
But I want to know, is Markova and Valentine going to be wrestling anytime soon against each other? Is Valentine a wrestler?
I mean, she could be. I've
heard a rumor that they're going to have some kind of actual altercation. I don't know if it's a match or not. So, but apparently there will be something physical between them.
Well, I don't want to know what's going on in the bedroom. I want to know what's going on in the wrestling ring. But
there goes the PG rating.
Yeah, I'm on. It's never a PG rating when I'm on. But seriously, I don't know. Unless you're booking and you're really trying to push a big feud between Markova and Valentine, maybe that the announcer and the wrestler shouldn't be feuding with each other. I know that's kind of like J Cal going after the United Wrestling Network Championship or something like that.
Hey, Chris Dickinson, I could get him right now. He's only got one good leg or one good hip.
Yes, I don't know why they want to book it. Unless there's something they're doing that they are planning on a match, they should instead book between, I don't know, two wrestlers that are trying to work their way up the ladder to win the women's championship, the Burke.
I mean, I basically agree with that. And the only reason I haven't criticized this as highly as I've criticized things with like Kyle Davis or Joe Galley or whatever, who there's never going to be anything. This one I'm not as certain. Because I've always felt since May Valentine came in that they might be preparing to, get her in the ring at some point. And
I like Dave Scooby's comment as it pertains to Natalia Markova. Let's just hope that Moose and Squirrel don't show up.
Oh, now.
Oh, come on, that was good.
I want Moose and Squirrel to show up. They are entertaining.
Moose is a current Impact champion, so maybe he should show up.
Good point. Good point.
Jinx. With that being said, excuse me, gentlemen, for just a minute. I have to step away, but I'm leaving you in very capable hands of Mr. DKM and Jaden. I'll be right back.
All right, now that Jay's gone, let's talk about him. Oh, wait, has he left yet? Okay, now that he's gone, let's talk about him.
Well, first of all, what's going on with that hair?
I know, right? And I think it's the avocado. He's been using avocado oil on it.
And his beard ain't nearly as pretty as mine. He's probably putting avocado on that, too. I don't know what the deal is.
That's why his commentary is so green.
I'm looking at a picture, though, Tim Storm by May Valentine and Kenzie Page. And I will say that May Valentine has a decent size. She's taller. Smells good. She might be able to wrestle.
So she has some arms on her, too. You know what? She might be physically able to do so. I think the real feud, unfortunately, is not between those two. I think it's between Markova and Valentine's plastic surgeon. I think that's the true feud that they should be worrying about.
Probably. And, maybe they'll have a pillow fight. Speaking of, have you seen that they're actually doing pillow fights as a combat sport now?
Yes, and I was so loaded with a horseshoe if I ever did it.
Yeah, to the person who came up with the idea. Oh, you out there in Moose and Squirrel Land, do you want to watch pillow fights as a combat sport? If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it.
I think it's who the participants are. If it's a couple of gorgeous young ladies, I'm sure they'd love to watch a pillow fight between them. But
this ain't porn. This is I saw the advertisement for it, and it's one of the few times I was left speechless in life.
I want to sign up for that slapping championship because there's many of people I'd like to slap.
Well, I don't mind signing up for it. It's just getting the right people to sign up for it so I can match them. That's the trick.
Well, I figured if I sign up for it, right, then as soon as I slap them, they're officially part of it. That's how it works, right?
If it is, let me know.
We definitely will. DK, now I wasn't here for the first part. I assume you guys already spoke about the pay-per-view or the, I don't know, what does Jay call it? Premiere event?
Premiere live event. He's calling a Power Trip a Premiere live event. It's not really a pay-per-view thing, is my understanding. I don't know if this is like one of the special things that they're offering on Fight, or if this will be distilled into episodes of Power. But we did talk about that. We have not gotten deep into Crockett Cup.
Oh, the Crockett Cup. Well, I'm sure that'll be coming up later, but that's something I am looking forward to. A couple of already announced teams that are a little exciting, in my opinion. But I guess we'll talk about that when Jay comes in.
I don't know if we want. Will Jay ever come back? We may be on our own. You know, he left us alone for one show, and we killed the podcast. So.
That is true, but I 100% blame Wardell Walker on that one. So that definitely wasn't our fault. That was 100% Wardell Walker.
I agree.
Since he's not here, it's easy to blame him.
Exactly, and whoever it was, you got to call in with him.
Hey guys.
Oh, Jay, we were just talking how much we like you.
Exactly.
I don't believe you.
Just don't go back and watch this segment while you're gone.
Do you think I watch these after they're posted? I can't stand to hear my own voice.
We're hopeful you don't.
You should. It'll help the views.
Got a point.
It would sink the views and mess up the algorithm. First of all, did you notice how I got Jaden's name now on the screen?
No.
Before it was just blocking it out. You're welcome. Anyways, where were we?
Well, we finished with May Valentine and Kenzie Page and Tim
Wait, you guys were still talking about that?
No, we talked
then
about
we started talking about pillow fights.
Oh.
And bad plastic surgery.
Oh.
Jay, did you know that pillow fights become an actual combat sport?
I did. I actually saw I don't know if that was on Facebook or something, where they were literally just going to town on each other with pillows, and I thought that's just the ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Is that going to be like on ESPN Ocho?
Yeah, watch it on the Ocho. But, knowing how hard my kids hit me with a pillow, like, I could see where that would be a combat sport.
Well, I had a cousin that could break bones with a pillow.
We don't talk about that cousin. His name's Bruno.
So anyway, at the podium, we saw Kyle Davis with the Fixers, Colby Carino, Kerry Morton, and some old dude.
Real quick, before we get to the interview, the first time they showed Kerry Morton on this segment, I thought that was a young Chance Prophet. Did anyone else think the same thing?
No.
All right.
But I've also known Kerry since he was like 16. So actually, probably since 14. So that's probably why I didn't assume that.
So what, you met him 2 years ago?
I think it was last year, wasn't it? No.
I'm looking at a picture right now, and I can kind of see where you would get that.
All right.
But no, not at the time did I think it. But since you pointed it out, now I won't be able to unsee it. Thanks a lot, Jay.
You're welcome.
Kerry Prophet, is that his new name now?
Kerry.
That's it, Kerry Prophet.
If he starts wearing face paint, Ricky should sue. All right, anyways.
Ricky should start wearing face paint.
Well, it works for Sting.
So, and do something with those ears.
You can't help those ears. Those are elfin-like. But getting back to this segment, this was basically setting up next week's finale of the junior heavyweight tournament. It'll either be Kerry or Colby who makes it to the finals. Those who were in attendance already know who won, but I don't know. I didn't read any spoilers, so I'm like everyone else. I'm waiting for Saturday to see who's going to come out on top. The one thing
I'm putting money on the multi-generational wrestler.
Yeah, well, okay. One thing that was said in the interview that
3 generations or 2.
Well, one that has at least 2.
The one that kind of sat weird with me is when Kerry said that one thing that he adores in this world is respect. And I'm like, do we adore respect or do we demand respect? And it just was like, I'm sure he messed up in the promo, but like, one thing in life I adore that my father taught me was respect. Okay.
I giggled a little bit at that. But I overlooked it.
Well, you know what? I honestly, when Ricky came out, I was already tuned it out. I'm already not the biggest Colby fan. I do like the fixtures, so they usually get me a cheap pop when they're out there. But Kerry, it's like listening to his old man cup promos. It's just not very entertaining as far as I'm concerned. But when he said that, it just kind of, it just twinged. But yeah, I mean, look, it sets up the match for next week. Obviously, they must see a lot in Kerry for him to be in this position. A lot of the commenters in the chat have been saying Colby Corino for world junior heavyweight champion for months now. So, I mean, this is probably the best pairing for both of them, and we'll see what comes on next week.
We will. I mean, after the actual segment itself, I didn't have much of a problem with it. It did break down into a brawl. They made their points. I don't like back-to-back interview segments, even if one's backstage and the other is out in front of the podium.
Me neither.
But I mean, just as far as the segment itself is concerned, I wasn't blown away, but I didn't dislike it. It was fine. It was fine to good to me. I don't know.
I agree.
Jaden, did you have any thoughts on it?
No, not really. They're probably two guys who haven't had a lot of experience doing live to tape promos. I'm sure Colby more, but they don't have a lot, and it was all right. I know you guys aren't the biggest Ricky Morton fans, but a lot of the NWA will see Ricky Morton and recognize him more than anybody else probably on the card, with the possible exception of Austin Aries. So it got a little bit of star power out there, and somebody's associated with the NWA and got his son in association with them, which may or may not be a good thing, depending on how big that shadow is for Ricky Morton. But, I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. Ricky Morton Kerry Morton is a 3rd generation wrestler, and Colby Corino is a 2nd generation wrestler. It's like to see the two go against each other and see what the future of the NWA is.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. The future of the NWA. There's a lot of guys on this roster who are pushing 40, 41, 42, 43. And, Tim Storm is, I think, 58, I think. These aren't young men. So the fact that there is a core roster coming up of guys who are younger, can connect to a younger fan base, I think that's very important for long-term growth for the NWA. Because, even Nick Aldis is like 36, I believe. It's a young man sport, and these guys can stay on top for now, but not forever. And at some point, you're going to have to make new stars. So guys like Colby Corino, PJ Hawks, Kerry, almost said Von Erich, Kerry Morton certainly will help bring that generational gap and have talent for years to come. James H. Jackson agrees with me that they should have retaped that segment because it's just adoring respect is kind of a weird thing. We ready to go to the next match?
Yes, please.
Okay, so then the next match we get is Miguel Robles making his return to the Georgia Public Broadcasting Studio to take on Marshe Rocket and Black G's Church's Money. And again, this was a showcase match for Marshe Rocket. They were just throwing him out there so that he could get another W under his belt and kind of help solidify him as a bigger deal than he currently is. Miguel Robles is fine. He's working as an enhancement talent for the NWA. There's nothing wrong with that at all. That's where Mims started out, and who knows, maybe down the road we'll see more out of Miguel Robles. But the night belonged to Marche. It was all about Marche and the Idol Sports Management. So, of course, he took the W. Jaden, what did you think of this one?
Marche. You know what? He's got something. If he can tone up that physique a little bit, I think he can be something that the NWA can push around. But he's not there yet. But maybe with more experience, more television time, more opponents in the ring, more chance working out maybe other promotions, because I think he does work a couple other bigger time with TV, he might develop into a good talent. And if you could use Black G's as more of a Kanye West kind to get some heat on them and then eventually turn against them. I know the NWA likes to do that with people. I have people that are really friendly and then turn against each other, hate each other in like the next 5 minutes. But in the long term, that might be something. Honestly, though, Black G's reminds me a lot more of what's that guy that AEW just got released and was in the WWE?
Leo Rush.
Leo Rush, yeah. He reminds me kind of more of a poor man's Leo Rush. Say what you will about Leo. Something about him makes me want to punch him, but I don't want him to go away. And I think that's what they're trying to do with Black G's. And I think it kind of comes more of an imitation than the real thing.
BK, you have something you want to add to that?
I think, well, first of all, every time I watch this Miguel Robles, I like him.
Yeah,
and I think he's being used in the correct way at the moment, which is, get in there, get some in-ring experience, but you're probably, you're not going to go over. You're going to be used to enhance others. And look, I know a lot of people go, oh, in this day and age, we don't need squash matches or we don't need, enhancement matches. We see competitive stuff. No, we need stuff like this. Because this was exactly the type of match that we needed from Rocket. 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I guess it was now, we were all pretty hard on him. And, when I look back on it, I thought it probably wasn't fair. And
can I say something to that real quick? Just real quick. Then he retweeted the show, so he probably watched it and heard you and Kevin bury him.
Yeah. And so, don't act like you're innocent here, boy. You didn't have
I like Marche. I agree.
You weren't talking about him overly positively. Don't change history here. That's my job. Anyway, look, Jaden put it best. In this day and age, it's more important to look a little more toned than it was back in the day. If you're not going to have a gimmick like Trevor Murdoch, if you're not going to have the gimmick of a barroom brawler, you need to have some shape. We even saw that with Slice Boogie, still the worst name in wrestling. And, as time went on, his physique got better. He was in the gym. He did stuff. He started developing a more muscular build. You don't have to be Kerry Von Erich. You don't have to be Rhett Titus. But you need to at least have some definition and some muscle, unlike me. Don't be like me.
Or what about a singlet? And again, I'm not trying to fashion design this guy, but you remember Too Cold Scorpio? He kind of got a little droopy there, and he put on a singlet for a while, didn't he?
Yeah, nothing says jobber like a singlet unless you're a Steiner or an amateur wrestler.
Scott Norton
wasn't used well.
He was IWGP champion.
All right, wasn't used well in WCW.
Look, I don't care. To me, singlets typically mean you're trying to hide the fact that you're fat. But it doesn't, unless it's an amateur singlet. I don't mind the amateur looking singlets. But you know, hey, look, especially when they do only film every 3 months, it only takes 2 sets of tapings to get yourself some kind of, definition of build. And again, I'm not saying he needs the 6-pack abs, the perfect pecs, the, arms
Stevie Ray and Booker T had a singlet.
Yeah, but when Booker T started getting pushed, he didn't.
Well, Marche isn't getting pushed yet, so let's not worry about it.
He was just getting pushed this last time. That's what these wins are for.
All right. Let's get over the same.
Marche, here, do yourself a favor at the NWA pay-per-view. Talk to Rhett Titus. He can tell you all about supplements you need to get yourself in shape. He is a vegan lifestyle, so you don't have to go quite that far, but he knows a lot about the different supplements. He'll tell you, go find a local GNC and get a good, I'll tell you what to get while you're there.
Yes, we do highly recommend GNC on this podcast. So anyway, although you can tell some of us don't, take full advantage. That being said,
what are you getting at? Next up, we have a backstage segment with May Valentine. She's been awfully busy this episode, and she's talking to the father-son combination of PJ and Luke Hawx. And Hawx basically, Papa Hawx says, hey, PJ, sit back and watch this one. You're about to learn something. Basically, I think he was just making sure that there were no distractions ringside, because if he gets the win, he wants to earn it. And, of course, he's facing stiff competition in Austin Aries. DK, what did you think of this promo in the back?
It was good for what it was. I think it helped get Luke Hawx over for the match, which what its purpose was. Wasn't Homicide out there too?
Oh, I skipped the Homicide promo. I'm sorry. Yeah, Homicide had a promo before that, and it didn't really say much of anything.
No, Homicide's promos have been disappointing, although this one was probably better than, the one where he basically acknowledged he wasn't prepared or ready to say anything, and they didn't refilm it or edit it or anything. But so it's one of those. It's better than what he's been giving us recently. It's still not great. And I'll be honest, I have not followed Homicide's career, so I don't know if he was ever a good talker or not. Jaden, do you know?
He was better when he could be more unedited, I guess is a good way to say it, where he get less constrained. I think the constraints of what the NWA and YouTube let him do, he's not able to get the passion and cut out the promo that he normally would. So I think that may be the issue he's having right now, is he's having to do a watered down version of what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, I know Kevin's complained about Mecha Whoop in his promos and just being in a normal voice, but it's almost like, man, I'll take a Mecha Whoop promo in a normal voice any day over some of the stuff that Homicide's put out recently.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Jane, did you have thoughts on the Hawkeye promo?
I don't even think I really paid attention to it because I was waiting to get toward the match. So I don't really think it even caught my attention or, was anything that it really stood out for me.
That's fair.
So then that takes us to the match, the main event of the night, the end of the junior heavyweight qualifying matches for the night, of course. Austin Aries with a cape taking on Luke Hawx with no cape. And this was a fun match. Like one of my favorite matches in NWA this year. And it's funny because I've said that a couple of times. I go back to Maddie Werdakowski and Kylie Ray. I thought it was a lot of fun. This match was really a lot of fun, and it went back and forth. Of course, Luke Hawx did not advance. We got a win for Austin Aries. But the match itself was really good. I think the fundamentals were there. There was no hiccups. There were no botches. I was happy with those. Oh, except for the referee. That damn referee. That guy just turns me the wrong way. I feel like he botches a lot of stuff just by being out there, and I certainly wouldn't be having him refereeing my main events anymore. Jane, did you notice the botch towards the end, and what did you think of the match?
I think he's a referee that they had out of convenience, not because they necessarily wanted to book him. But I actually really like the match. I've said it a million times. Austin Aries is worth $1 million. The problem is his attitude deducts about $2.5 million. But his talent is so there. He's so good in the ring. I'm wondering if he's going to be the next Brian Kendrick, because there's a lot of things he said outside of the wrestling world that are a little on the high conspiracy theory. So I'm not sure how long he's going to be once, luckily I think the NWA is the perfect place for him because nobody's paying attention. But if he was in a bigger company, I think there's a lot of things people out there talking about some of his conspiracy theories too. He believes a lot of the similar stuff. But either way, he's so damn talented in the ring. So good. He's got a personality. He just looks like an arrogant prick. And I'm sure that's a natural ability that he has. But he is what you should see inside that squared circle. It's a shame all of his histrionics outside the squared circle distract from it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it was a good match, and I'm gonna say the same things that I kind of said about the first one. I mean, in this one, it wasn't too long, it wasn't too short. It was back and forth. It was hard hitting. It was given, the right amount of time. I don't know that there was ever a spot where I saw Hawk go for a pin and I thought, oh my gosh, he might win. I mean, I'm not remembering anything specific. What I do remember was being grateful that he looked very strong in the match, no matter what. And I think this is a case where he lost, but he didn't lose anything. I think you see this and you see what a talent he is and how good he is. And, let's face it, when you're in the ring with somebody like Aries, then, you have a chance of looking really good. But I don't know. I was very happy with this match. It's kind of foregone who was going to win, but it didn't matter because it was still just a really, really good match. And, he probably does have crazy conspiracy theories, some of the Young Bucks. So,
well, yeah.
I think in the long run, they only get used against you if you're probably not somebody who matters.
Well, it's interesting is that Brian Kendrick is well, let me rephrase that. Had been a revered person in at least the circles of wrestling that I'm aware of, right? People have always talked about how much good he's done in the world of wrestling. He's helped train talents here in Southern California. Before going back to the WWE, he was wrestling independently out here, had his own promotion. And I just kind of thought that, hey, this was a feel-good moment. He's walking away from his job in the WWE on his own terms. He's going to go to AEW. And then all this stuff came up from a few years ago. And, that's what I always tell people. You know what? Just shut up. Don't post stuff on the internet like that. If you really genuinely believe it, cool. Keep it to yourself. Because there's a mob on the internet and they're looking for any reason to tear you down. You don't need to be the one to give them the ammunition.
You want to know my opinion about opinions?
What's that?
Opinions are like assholes. They're all full of shit.
And
I didn't want your opinion, so it doesn't matter.
And at least Sean Mega agrees with me.
Well, I mean, if that happens, then the world's in the right spot.
Sean, look, me and Sean Mega, I mean, we kind of have the same ideas on a lot of things, so don't go besmirching his name.
I think Jake is.
Are you saying that you're actually Sean Mega?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking he's saying. That's our new conspiracy theory. The Jake Cal is actually Sean Mega.
I'm currently in the chat as this name right here. You guys can see it. It pops up.
Doesn't mean you don't have another computer or phone or tablet where you're in another chat.
In fact, I'm almost willing to guarantee that he's probably logged. You know what? Dave Scooby, James H. Jackson, Sean Mega. They're probably all him. Chris Drummond. We know Chris, so we know that's not him. I'm pretty sure he's not Terry, but he may be some of the other guys. He might be Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Wait, hold on now. James
Yeah,
H.
you know
Jackson.
what? I think Okushi is a fake name. I think he is somebody else.
James H. Jackson. How dare you? First of all, that kind sir has bought several of our T-shirts and merchandise, and I honestly can't afford to do that. So obviously that's not me. I have kids, and they take my money, and I have a wife, and she takes my money, and I don't have money to buy nice things like Alliance Wrestling T-shirts that you can get at the merch store. With the link is in the description of this podcast.
He also has to spend money on buckets and pins.
Buckets and pins.
I'm going to give Jay credit. That was a good segue.
Yeah,
it was good. He pulled something out on that one, so we'll give him credit for that. Hey Jay, I heard a vicious rumor that not only was there a USA episode this week, but there was also a Power episode this week. Is that true?
Team War. Yes, there was an episode of the award-winning, long-lasting, never disappointing Alliance Guys podcast that covers NWA Power. Now, this episode of Power, I'm going to be honest, and I know my opinion might be a little bit different than DKM's, maybe different than Jaden's. I enjoyed this episode. Yeah, I know that kind of breaks kayfabe here, but I thought this was a pretty decent episode. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the Team War concept. I thought it was a little trifle to begin with, and watching it in place, I still don't really understand why it's even necessary. But at least it presented some matches that had some action that wasn't boring. I thought it was pretty good. On the surface, what did you guys think?
Well, Jaden won't watch it till tomorrow, so we'll have to get his opinion then.
Probably want to watch it then.
I will say this about it. I did not hate it like I thought I would. I had a hard time getting into it.
Sure.
The overall action was good, but I just so did not care in the greater scheme of things who won, who lost, what happened. I mean, I wasn't rooting for anybody. I wasn't rooting against anybody. But, rooting against people can be a good thing. I've said many times before, I go, back in the day, I hated Tully Blanchard. I just hated him. It annoyed the hell out of me. But Tully Blanchard did his job right because I was willing to pay money to watch Tully Blanchard get his ass kicked.
Yeah, Tully Blanchard, Buddy Roberts was another one.
Right.
I couldn't understand why he was on the team. All he did is beat up, and he got beat up in spectacular fashion. And now I understand that's exactly what we was supposed to be thinking.
DK hated Tully Blanchard so much that he still hasn't forgiven him for having a daughter.
No, I blame the daughter. I hold the sins of the father against her. And she's got enough of her own sins, but I haven't even gotten there yet because I still hate Tully Blanchard. But no, seriously, it wasn't until he was long, out of the business that I realized, boy, he was doing exactly what he was supposed to do, because that smart man. I remember when he feuded with Ron Garvin, and all I wanted more in the world was for Garvin to just beat the crap out of him. And look, I've always known the exhibitionist nature of wrestling. So, I've always known what it is, but still, we're talking about the ability to suspend your disbelief. And Tully Blanchard and Ronnie Garvin, when those two feuded, I was totally into it. It was totally real to me. And Ronnie Garvin needed to beat the crap out of Tully Blanchard, and he only did half the time. I mean, he would normally beat him up pretty bad in the match, but Blanchard actually won one more match than Garvin did, and it was just, oh boy, it was just that was happening. By the way, I once asked questions: is there anybody out there like that today? And I've come to the conclusion that there is one person, and it's Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn in the current WWE. He's annoying, obnoxious, and I would pay money to watch him get slapped around.
What about the Miz?
I was going to say Daredevil Dave Dahl personally, but
we know you and your love of Dave Dahl. And who were you saying, Jay? I couldn't hear you.
The Miz.
No, Miz has to go away with me. I want to turn the TV off when he's on. What
about MJF?
MJF, yes, MJF's one of those that has that. Roddy Piper was another one. Now, I always enjoyed Roddy Piper, but I never looked at him the same way I did Tully, but he was somebody who, you spent money because he didn't wrestle a lot. Only in Mid-Atlantic was he, in those days, he was a regular wrestler. But when he was in Georgia, when he was up in WWE, he didn't wrestle just a whole lot. He was just an annoying host or whatever, and you just wanted to see him get his ass kicked.
When he was in Los Angeles at the Grand Olympic, he spent a lot of time feuding with the Guerrero family, and I know in Portland he was pretty regular there as well. But I know in LA he got after it, and him and Chavo Guerrero were packing the house at the Grand Olympic.
Yeah, I mean, he said it best when he came back in WCW and was talking to Hogan. He goes, "They wouldn't have been cheering you so loudly if they hadn't been booing me."
That's 100% accurate.
And, I don't know if there's anybody. I don't know if there's anybody in the NWA or AEW or really Sami Zayn's the only person I could kind of come up with at the moment. That was
MJF.
Yeah, MJF. You just brought him up. Sorry. But, they're really like the only two I can think of that you're willing to spend money to watch it get their ass beat, even though it's not real. It's real enough in that. MJF, and, do you know how many people are mad that he beat CM Punk? And just, literally upset and angry and things like that. Yeah, good. Now go spend money for the rematch.
What do you think about Matt Cardona and his role in the NWA? Do you think he's got that heat yet or not yet?
Not in the NWA, he doesn't.
No, I don't think he does in the NWA. I know they're trying to use him like he was being used in Game Changer, where he does have that type of heat. But it doesn't work as well because in Game Changer, he's basically coming out against the product. Whereas in the NWA, he's there to save the product. And, and it doesn't translate the same.
Right. Yeah, and in Game Changer, he's not the biggest heel in Game Changer. That's actually the fans hate more than anything else is personal hygiene in Game Changer wrestling. So he's not the biggest heel in there. It's definitely personal hygiene, along with education.
Good dental plan.
Yeah, well, that's part of the personal hygiene, I'm sure. If I always love that there's about 1,000 people in a Game Changer wrestling crowd, only about 2,000 teeth.
Oh, you're overstating there, boy.
Okay. Let's get to the power, because I don't want Nick Gage showing up at my house
with a pizza cutter. Well, if you do, make sure you're having pizza that night so it can be put to, good use.
So the show starts off with Kyle Davis and Matt Cardona. Cardona sounds somber and says he has bad news because Cardona says he can't wrestle Trevor for the world's title because if he does, then he's going to win. And if he has to win, then he has to take the title. And if he does that, then Trevor will do what he did in 2018 and quit the business. Cardona has to win so that he can save the NWA, and so Trevor Murdoch will quit the business again. This was kind of a interesting way to start the show. Cardona's getting a lot of camera time, a lot of face time, and I think that's mostly because of the push he's got in Game Changer Wrestling. But it was just a fun way to kind of fuel this feud that is starting to brew between the two. And the one thing that I kind of liked about this is we didn't get Murdoch running out there wanting to fight him. It was Cardona just kind of ran his mouth with no repercussions, no comeuppance. DK, what did you think about this segment?
You're probably not going to believe this, but I actually sort of enjoyed it. It set who Cardona and the direction they need to move him is the heel that thinks he's a face or acts like he's a face, even though he knows he's a heel. The wrestling fan knows he's a heel, but he talks like, oh, I'm actually a good guy with good things and good ideas. I'm just a poor, innocent, sweet person trying to do what's right. None of us buy it. He doesn't buy it. He knows we don't buy it. But it's just kind of fun to watch anyway. And
I don't know. I kind of think he does buy it.
Well, maybe he does. But yeah, I don't know. What'd you think, Jaden? I mean, I'm not his biggest fan, but I mean, I thought it was okay.
See, I've always said that if I had control and if I would have had Matt Cardona, especially when he first left the WWE, I could have made a lot of money with him. He's taken himself in a completely different direction on how I would have, and I think that may have changed my ability that I would have been able to make so much money with him. He was one of the most popular wrestlers out there. He was an internet darling. Even the casual fans loved him. And I think now he's using that because sometimes the most over babyface is the absolute most despised heel when done right. I think that's what he's trying for here, and I think he is trying to get to the fact that Matt Cardona believes he's the true savior of the NWA, and he's doing the NWA a favor by taking the belt off of Trevor Murdoch and elevating it. And I think that's something everybody should want to do. They should want to be the next NWA World Heavyweight Champion, even if it's just to elevate the championship or for the extra money or for the prestige or for the lineage or for whatever reason you want that championship. Everybody should want it. And it's nice to have somebody who wants it instead of saying, I'll go for it another time. Right now I got some more important things to do.
That's a great point too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and I think just to kind of echo what you both have said, I mean, he is a guy that is generating buzz. He might not be the draw that Chris Drummond thinks he is, but he's certainly a big enough draw that you've got the Busted Open Sirius XM radio talking about him. You've got the internet community kind of buzzing about him, and ticket sales they're going out the door. So there's something to it. Now, if he comes in and wins the title, are you going to be okay with it, DK? I know you weren't. Is that changing? Has your opinion changed at all?
Not really. I mean, first of all, I don't like hot-shotting titles. And I think that if you put the title on him, you would have to hot-shot it. Secondly, again, I think that sends the wrong message in that we don't have any talent that's capable of being a world champion. So, we had to bring somebody in. say what you will about Aldis's 2-year title reign, at least by the time they finally pulled the trigger and changed it, many people who were complaining about Murdoch were ready for Murdoch to win it.
Yeah.
They had done enough of a storyline there. It wasn't even a great storyline, but they had done enough of a storyline that you were able to get it in. And so, I would much rather have Cardona come. I would have much rather have had Cardona come and feud it with the Pope and done things to help get the Pope over. And then, he got the last win and Pope got his seat back in some other way. Then you can look at putting him in with Murdoch.
I think that's the NWA's weakness. They don't have a complete list of challengers. The one thing that the NWA, especially Jim Crockett Promotions, did very well is Ric Flair not just only had Dusty Rhodes chasing him, he also had Nikita Koloff, he had Magnum TA, he had Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, he had Hawk and Animal of the Road Warriors, he had Barry Windham, he had Lex Luger. There was always everybody challenging the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, and the NWA had multiple people having multiple feuds that could have been visited at any time. Tully Blanchard wasn't just feuding with Dusty Rhodes, he was feuding with Ron Garvin, he was feuding with Brad Armstrong, he was feuding with Barry Windham. Everybody had multiple people that they were going, and it was done right where you could have seen anybody against anybody at any time and it would have meant something to you. And they were building up multiple people in multiple personal disagreements, and that's what really draws money, is people want to see personal grudges be satisfied and personal conflict be initiated to build up to these different challengers. If Cardona was first starting in the NWA, and they built up first, they got him a bunch of wins, and then they put him in a feud with the Pope and elevated both, where both came out better. And at this whole time, Murdoch had challenger after challenger after challenger after challenger, where he was a dominant and an expressive and a successful champion. Then yes, I would want Cardona to win it. But right now, if they do it, they just might Ron Garvin, Trevor Murdoch.
Let's get to the show. I don't want to labor this anymore, but at the very least, we just know that Cardona is moving the needle in both directions. One thing that moves the needle in a direction for me is that no Austin Idol in the booth. He is replaced with Medusa, and I'm not the biggest Medusa fan either, but I'll take her over Austin Idol almost any day of the week. The Team War opening round. Now, they made this seem like this was going to be a long, drawn-out thing, but I guess it's really just a series of 3 matches. So we're not sure exactly how this is all going to play out, but we know that for at least tonight's show, or Tuesday night show, the opponents can be eliminated by pinfall, submission, or over-the-top rope exits. And the first round is the pairing of Strictly Business with El Rudo, the OG Kingdom with Victor Benjamin, La Rebellion with Homicide, Carino and the Fixers. Oh, and that's it, Carino with the Fixers. I didn't keep track of how they were eliminated, but I just kept track of who eliminated who. So first we had El Rudo eliminating Homicide, in which that kind of looked like a botch to me. Mecha Wolf eliminated Victor Benjamin. Carino eliminated El Rudo. Chris Adonis eliminated Colby Carino. Chris Adonis, Mecha Wolf, and Michael Bennett teamed together to eliminate the Wrecking Ball, Legursky. Bestia 666 eliminated Michael Bennett. Oh, excuse me, they eliminated each other. Excuse me, Michael Bennett eliminated Mecha Wolf. Bestia and Bennett eliminated each other. Matt Taven eliminated Adonis, and Latimer won the match by eliminating Matt Taven. What I liked about this match is that it was full of excitement. There wasn't a lot of lulls. They tried to keep it a high-paced, very action-packed type match. Like I said, some of the rules didn't really make sense. You could get eliminated by going over the top. One thing that I noticed that the guys on the outside did very little to help their partners on the inside. If my partner's about to get eliminated over the top rope, I'm going to try to brace them and keep them from falling out of the ring, a la Kofi Kingston at the Royal Rumble. But all in all, I thought the match was pretty good. DK, what did you think?
For what it was good. I mean, I won't argue that. There was plenty of action, plenty of stuff going on. Again, I was having a hard time getting into it because the rules didn't necessarily 100% make sense to me. And, you pointed out one of the weaknesses of something like this, which is how they, why don't you do more to save your partners or whatever. Strictly business with El Rudo made no sense to me whatsoever. It was like, who are we going to put with strictly business? Here, let's pull a name out of a hat.
I think that's probably what they did. And
it made, Victor Benjamin and the original Kingdom, they had at least teamed up once before. Homicide and La Rebellion makes sense, they've been doing promos together. Of course, Carino and the Fixers are already a set faction type thing. And so it was just one of those, okay, surely there was somebody better they could have put with them. Not that I can think of anybody off the top of my head.
Jackstein.
Yeah, well, and we're going to get to that in the upcoming match.
Sure.
Why wasn't Jack Stane at the end when the end had brought Jack Stane in as a partner, but now all of a sudden he's teaming with Rodney. Not that I don't enjoy seeing Rodney Mack, but it was just like Rodney Mack and Jack Stane are feuding, sort of, kind of, as much as the NWA does anything. And so now why has he replaced Stane on that team without any rhyme, reason, or explanation? So it was a tough one for me to figure out.
The rules, though, if you're going to go traditionally, that's based off the old San Francisco Battle Royal. The old Battle Royal rules used to have once a year. We could be eliminated by pinfall. I don't really think they had submission, but I'm sure it would still work. And going over the top rope. And that Battle Royal was the grandfather to the Royal Rumble. That's actually where Pat Patterson got the idea from. If it was just a standard Battle Royal where everybody was for themselves, I think that probably could have been a good idea. But this whole team thing, again, why not save your team partner? If you're out there and you should be eliminated, then you should be sent to the back if you're not going to be doing that. To me.
They did. The thing about it is the entire team, all three men were out at the same time. But once you were eliminated, you were forced to go to the back. So as long as you haven't been in the ring yet, you are standing ringside. So like the entire time Latimer was there, he could have, assisted, if you will, if Adonis was going to be eliminated over the top or whatever. It's just something they didn't do, which I kind of wish they would have, because it would have showed, the bending and flexing of the rules.
Yeah, it's because I think they just didn't think of it until it was too late. They kind of came up with the concept, but they didn't put a lot of thought into it. Like how they had an idea where they wanted to end it, but they didn't download MapQuest to try to find out how to get there, or they didn't plug it into their GPS. They just kind of like drove until they just happened to get where they were going.
Do you want to know how Jaden's old? He said MapQuest. Next
I figured it's something you two would understand. That's why I threw it out.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Next up, we get the Pope at the podium. Now, this was kind of a feel-good moment for the NWA. Now, we all know that the Pope was legitimately injured at Hard Times, too. They did take him out of the building in a stretcher. And I do believe the parts that he said in this promo about Tim Storm was sitting there praying with him, and that Velvet Sky was holding on to Pope's legs. I do believe that was legit, because from what we heard, he was ushered out by an ambulance. We know that he was okay, but of course, if you miss a day or two of a 4-day TV taping, then you're off the tapings for weeks. So when he came back, this is what they should have done with Aldis, is kept him off of TV this long after being, quote unquote injured. So it meant something when the Pope came out, and the Pope absolutely delivered. The Pope returns to speak with Kyle Davis. He cuts the most Dusty-esque promo I've ever heard. And could this be the Pope's hard time promo? Could this be the moment that the Pope finally breaks through? Is this the moment that the spotlight shines on Elijah Burke? I mean, this was just, when I'm listening to him talk, I got fired up. And I go back to God, wishing that the NWA would have pulled the trigger on a Nick Aldis Pope program prior to the 73rd anniversary, of course, which they did not. DK, you listened to this promo. I think you echo my sentiment that it was probably one of the best promos a Pope has done. What'd you think?
Well, I think my exact words were, "This is the best Pope. This is the best promo on Power since the last Pope promo on Power." And look, how you don't use this guy better, bigger, stronger, top, I don't know. He might be similar to Dusty in the way that I don't know that he could ever be a really good, two-year champion, so to speak.
Sure.
I don't know that he's that type of wrestler. They can hold him longer now because they not a whole lot of matches in between. But man, he can fire you up and make you a believer, and you just you just buy into that personality. It's over the top. It's bigger. It's better. And to not give this man a run with the belt at some point here in the next couple of years would be a travesty. So,
if they're not going to put the world title on him, put the national championship on him.
I'll take that.
And here's where the pandemic really screwed the NWA, because could you have imagined the Pope in a promo war against Eddie Kingston?
Oh God! And they were going towards that. You remember they were building that. They were building towards that.
I always thought they were building Eddie Kingston versus Aldis, but yeah, but imagine Pope versus Eddie Kingston or anybody who can speak. Imagine if instead of booking the C-show best friends talent that the AEW did, if AEW would have been smart and they would have had MJF versus the Pope, built that up for a while, or.
I want to ask you a question real quick, Jane. In the NWA, who do you think is the better promo right now, Nick Aldis or the Pope?
The Pope. I like the Aldis. Yeah. The Aldis says, I like Nick Aldis. I know some people think he's a ham sandwich jabroni, but I'm not one of those guys. But I like Aldis. He's got some money. I could use Aldis if I was in charge of a major company and I would sign somebody. I would sign Aldis. But if I had to go for the pure promo skills, I would definitely say the Pope.
There's different styles, and I think it's who you would pick would be your personal preference. But I just love the way Pope fires it up. It's like being at a revival.
Oh my gosh. That's probably where he gets it from. Next up, we get the Ill-Begotten backstage with May Valentine. Captain Yuma seems to have gotten pushed to the back here, both figurative and literally. The newest member of Ill-Begotten, introduced by Alex, what's his name? I'm sorry, I can't remember that guy's name for the life of me. Alex Taylor, thank you. They introduced Jeremiah Plunkett to the group, which is kind of interesting because Jeremiah Plunkett's a seasoned veteran. And so he's joining a group of the youngsters. And literally, Yuma is pushed to the back where you can't even see him on camera anymore. I do want to give a shout out, although I'm sure he's not watching this, to Yuma, who I know is in the hospital right now. He's having some health issues. He should be good soon, but I know that he's had some problems and he's been in the hospital for a couple of days here. So on an all serious note, I hope Yuma's feeling better very, very soon. But what did you think about this segment, DK?
Well, of course, send our best wishes and thoughts to Yuma. I don't care. It's drama for the sake of drama. Billy seems to love to do that. Split Yuma off, give him another team or something. I don't care. Just don't drag this out like they love to drag things out. That's all I have to say about this.
Again, I'm not the biggest NWA fan. I haven't really been following POWERRR, but I know forever that we were making fun of Billy Corgan for breaking up tag teams. That he take that to heart and instead of breaking up tag teams, he just started to make factions, like 3- and 4-man teams instead of breaking up tag teams. He decides to throw everybody together like spaghetti and just see who kind of just works.
Well, I initially thought that the reason why they put all those guys into Austin Idol Sports Management was to create like a new modern day job squad, right? Where these guys were just going to come out there and lose matches. But I think that they've decided to put those guys over now and needed a new version of the job squad. And that's why you've got the ill-begotten. That sounds funny. I think that's why you got those 4 men put together. And I'm almost positive that Yuma will be pushed out of it soon enough. But with that being said, that gives him an opportunity to explore more of the junior heavyweight matches, to work more matches in that style. And it would allow the 3 Freeman, Taylor, and Plunkett to kind of work as more of a tag team unit, a la Demolition or something like that, where they have the Freebird rule in effect. Not that those guys are for the Freebirds or Demolition. Jeremiah Plunkett was on the pre-party, so I don't want to say anything bad about him. He is somebody I've wanted to have on the podcast for a while. I would like for him to have better opponents and better matches. This was whatever.
Well, since you got the ill-begotten, I'm sure there's an ointment that'll help clear that up for you, Jay.
Thank you.
I will say you this about the teaming. Now, what you have in Plunkett is you have seasoned veteran.
Sure.
I don't know a lot about Rush Freeman or Alex Taylor, but if they can take advantage of using Plunkett to work with them and see what they really have, that could be a good thing. I mean, Plunkett, I think right now is in a position where, honestly, probably working more of a gatekeeper role.
Yeah.
And that's fine. He's probably a good person for that. And so, if he can work with these guys and help develop them, that's a good thing. The NWA doesn't have many middle people. They have young guys and they have old guys, and they have a few middle guys, but they need these veterans to get in there and work with these young guys and teach them, the right ways to do it. Go get Rip Rogers if you need a real trainer, and let them learn a little bit about what the wrestling business is supposed to be. So, I'm okay with Plunkett. I don't like the booking here, but I'm okay with Plunkett working with these guys. So tell me about the women's match, Jay.
So this was actually another one of those matches where I think the referee made a mistake. I think the referee kind of botched this. Now, we talked about Kiera
By
Hogan.
showing up? Yeah, I agree.
Kiera Hogan won the number one contenders a couple weeks ago back on Power, when Melina didn't feel that she needed to be in a number one contenders match. She felt like she should be gifted the forever number one contender spot. So Kiera Hogan comes in all ablaze. They interviewed her last week, and she spent more time talking about her relationship with Mickie James than she did wrestling Kamille. And the match kind of felt like she was still thinking about Mickie James, because this was all Kamille, as it probably should be. because Kamille is a very dominant women's champion. She came out there. She didn't do anything silly. Kiera Hogan was talking a lot of mess, trying to get over, I guess. But the match was just dominated by Kamille. Again, like it should be. Like I said, the referee looked like he botched the ending. It probably was supposed to be a 2 count, but he counted 3. Now, I don't know if that was because Kiera Hogan was hurt. I don't know what exactly happened. But this referee certainly just, I think, is not very good at his job.
He might, though. See, I didn't see the match, but there's always a thing in professional wrestling for the really good companies. You tell the referee to count. If they don't kick out, it's their own stupid fault. So if they didn't kick out and it was supposed to be, if Kiera Hogan didn't kick out, it was supposed to be, it may not be the referee's fault because it should be the ref's job to count like it's really happening.
And that would be fine if this was the first time that we've had an issue with this guy. But we tend to have an issue with this guy whenever he's in the ring. DK, am I wrong?
Honestly, I don't think either one of you are wrong in this particular case. The ref isn't a good ref in general. But that being said, Hogan didn't kick out. Not only did she not, but it didn't even seem like there was a decent effort to. So I think you look worse if you go and try to not make the 3 count.
That's a good point too.
Look, this is obviously botch aside one way or the other, or maybe it was a plant finish. I couldn't tell you. It just seemed weird that it was a fisherman suplex opposed to a spear, but maybe they're trying to broaden horizons. Kamille looked the way she should. I mean, you looked at the 2 of them in the ring together, and you said to yourself, bring in somebody who doesn't know wrestling and go, hey, how do you think this thing's going to go between these two? They go, oh, that big girl's going to, wipe them out with the little girl. And that's basically what happened. I think this is going to further Kiera Hogan's heel turn type thing, because at this point, what do you do with her? She's lost to Mickie James. She's lost to Kamille. They lost in the tag title match. So, I mean, what do you do with her? You got to do something with her. And, if she turns heel and James eventually drops the Impact title here, then, you might be able to set up something between them again that would be a little more on the entertaining thing and not a love fest.
Or maybe this is her way of putting over the NWA women's division on her way out, because, again, she's an AEW wrestler. I know it's hard to remember that because she spends so much time in the NWA, but she's technically under contract to AEW. Now, we do know a bunch of contracts are coming up for AEW, and a lot of names are not going to be resigned. I don't know that she is one of them. I felt like she got signed later in the year, and you would think she'd be around for a little while, but I guess you just don't know, right?
And you don't. You're right, because we don't really know when the contracts end. I mean, unless they tell us. And let me tell you something, because I see some people doing this. Anyone who goes out and goes, I'm leaving AEW, or we've come to terms, or whatever, kind of like Big Swole did, and then we kind of learned later that, of course, with Big Swole, they just weren't interested in her anymore. And I think that's kind of the case. I'm not saying they're good talents, bad talents, or whatever, but people are making a deal that they're leaving AEW. AEW's not re-signing them. And I don't care if it's Leo Rush, and I don't care if it's whoever the other one was, female. Yeah, oh, she's leaving AEW and she's leaving WOW, and
Alex Gracia.
Yeah, hey, hopefully she'll be picked up by WWE, but maybe not. I mean, she also listed the NWA and MLW as people who are interested in her, and so WOW's not run yet. I don't think it's probably hard to get out of a contract with them. And AEW wasn't going to re-sign her. And so let's put some reality clamps on, because I see this in Twitter and Discords and things like that. Oh, these people are leaving AEW. No, they're not. AEW is not signing. I mean, some people don't realize this, but one of the AEW contracts is 3 months. And people come in, they'll wrestle for like 3 months and then disappear.
Yeah. Or our pal Danny Limelight, his contract ran out, and that was it. And they didn't decide to pursue him. And it's pretty common knowledge. And what did he do? Well, he just went to MLW. That's all. Talent. Well, cream will always rise to the top. The best talented wrestlers will always find a way to get booked and get over. So any of these talents in AEW who are having difficulty getting over in AEW, like, there's other opportunities. It's just not going to be with AEW. No one can tell me that Brian Cage can't get over somewhere. That guy, if he becomes a free agent, like the rumor is, if he comes to MLW, if he comes to the NWA, if he comes to United Wrestling Network, he's going to get over. It's just that he didn't fit what AEW was looking for.
No, let's be honest. Most of it was because AEW booked him like crap.
Yeah, well, sure, yeah.
And, I don't know a lot about Brian Cage outside the ring. You hear this or that, but ultimately, you book a 270-pound man to be cleanly pinned by a 150-pound man, and then you're surprised he doesn't get over?
Yeah.
Wow.
I just want to make sure, though, James H. Jackson did say something about they've never released anybody. That's not true. They did release Jimmy Havoc.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was a conduct issue, though, correct?
Yeah, something controversial things he did into some people in England, without going into details.
Well, it was part of the pandemic and one of the speaking out things. But
let's jump to the last match, because we are 2 hours into this show and it's time to put it down very gently. The 4-way elimination match brings out the Idol Sports Management, which is Tyrus, Jordan Clearwater, and Marche Rocket versus Stevens, Kratos, and Judas, which was an interesting pairing, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. We had the end with not Jack Stain, but Rodney Mack and the Ill Begotten without Captain Yuma. Real quick, the breakdowns were this. Tyrus eliminated Stevens almost instantly with that heart punch. Then they eliminated Freeman, again with the heart punch. Kratos, Jeremiah, and Odinson eliminated Tyrus. Marche eliminated Kratos. Judas eliminated Marche. Jordan Clearwater eliminated Judas. Jordan Clearwater also eliminated Plunkett. And then Odinson eliminated Clearwater. So Odinson was the only person from his team to be involved with the match. Rodney Mack and Paro just sat out there smoking cigarettes, eating hot dogs, waiting for something to happen. But that really, to me, this kind of was a breakout moment for Odinson. We've known that he's a great specimen. He's a big dude. He's muscular. He's great inside the ring. I haven't seen him have really a bad outing, but that dude literally lasted the entire Team War match without needing his partners. Does this propel Odinson to the next level? Do you think he might be one of the guys next in line for either a national championship shot or a television title shot? Jaden, I mean, I know you didn't see the match, but just what I told you with Odinson going over, what are your thoughts?
I think anybody who sees Odinson and then actually watches him in the ring doesn't push him as a top single star, doesn't belong to be in any way, shape, or form in any kind of creative position in professional wrestling. So without even seeing that, I've seen Odinson, and I really wish the End wrestled in the NWA like they wrestled in All Japan Pro Wrestling. I don't know why, but it definitely seems like Paro has lost a couple of steps. But Odinson, he just seems to have gotten better. And you know what? Maybe it's time to. The NWA likes to break up tag teams. Maybe they should break up this tag team and start pushing Odinson as a singles wrestler instead.
DK?
Well, yeah, I said that back when Odinson first appeared. Because we had seen POWERRR already, and then he came in and joined him, and I said, man, the one I want to see is Odinson. I mean, oh, look, just to cover the match real quick, this is probably the best that Clearwater's looked.
Yep.
And, I mean, they finally gave him some oomph, and, his finisher meant something and everything. So I did not like the overall match as well as the first one. And, I only liked the first one as good for what it was. So this one, the early parts was kind of like, and, but I did like the end. Once Rocket was eliminated and we got down to just, the final three or final four, I guess it was, then, I thought this one picked up and I thought it was good. And now I'll never get the phrase hot dogs and smoking cigarettes out of my mind, and I'm going to sue Jay for mental distress. And, yeah, I mean, this week's show was one of those things that I don't have just a ton of criticism about, other than I didn't like the concept of the, tag team war or whatever.
Team war,
yeah. And I actually thought that this was supposed to be more. I didn't realize that they were going to put 4 teams in together at the same time, and some of the rules. I can't say I hated it. I can't say I loved it. It was better than several episodes of POWERRR, that I have just despised. And I didn't despise it, but it was, when I compare it to what USA was, it was like, almost like, different promotions that put these things together.
Right.
I mean, right now, USA is a better booked show. And it's more of a wrestling show. And so I hope they continue USA along this course, and I hope they start moving POWERRR more to that.
Yeah.
Don't they have separate bookers though? Isn't like Raven booking USA while I guess Aldis or somebody else is doing POWERRR?
Well, all this has nothing to do with booking, although he does have a voice in creative. He doesn't actually book it. All of the booking for POWERRR comes from Billy Corgan. I was told that Raven has a lot of influence on how USA is taped and not taped, but the storylines and everything involved with that. I don't know for sure if that was the entire time or if it's a progressed throughout the tapings. I don't really know. But I mean, there's one good way to find out. We'll just keep watching the show and see how much better and worse the two programs get. And if
a lot of times experienced people, and people who are used to running things can do stuff. Even when Jim Cornette was there, like I said, he was only hired to do the announcing, but by the end, he was helping with the formats. He was, aging matches. He was working the production meetings because he was the most experienced person when it came to, doing that type of stuff. And, he'd make sure the right questions got asked, not just on the wrestling side, but also on the, production side and things like that. And, you can certainly see where, honestly, the POWERRR that had Cornette on it was a decent series. Not that it didn't have its issues, but, then when it was just Lagana, got a little more, and then once Lagana was gone, it's certainly the production quality's gone to hell. And, such as not retaping things, people. So, I mean, I don't know how much influence Raven had, but if he had enough influence that, they were able to put out a better product, then, more power to him, literally. Like, make him the booker.
Well, it makes sense, though. If anybody has he's one of the last vestiges of a territorial wrestler. I mean, working in Florida, working in Portland, working in Memphis,
Texas.
Doing WCW, doing Global, ECW, and even at Early Impact. He's and WWE. He's done so much at different places, and was again one of the last vestiges of a territorial wrestler who's done studio tapings for multiple of those early territory promotions. He kind of knows how it goes.
He was honestly the first guy I would have picked for my creative had I been Billy Corgan. But hey guys, that's gonna do it for us. I mean, we're 2.5 hours into it, so let's wrap it up. Jaden, I know that you're not on the socials, but if you were, which social medias would you recommend people to follow?
I recommend you go to dogprowrestling.com and follow all the dog social medias, because I have no idea what they are. Again, I don't have social media. I'm lucky I have a cell phone. It's only because I have to. And so I don't want to talk to anybody. So that's a good way to not have to talk to anybody. It's not being on social media. But if you do follow Dog Pro Wrestling, go to dogprowrestling.com. That's DAWG. And then make sure you go check out that event from Rowan and check out some of the rough footage that the Rowan Television Network put out there. And then go to the Dog Facebook page. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the Dog YouTube page. And then go to alliance-wrestling.com, where your number one source of professional wrestling news, not only for the NWA, but for the United Wrestling Network and Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators and other promotions here and there. And make sure you get a t-shirt and a hat.
Woo! You're hired. DK, what do you want to plug before we go?
Just keep your eyes and ears open for IHWE and IHW. They've been making announcements on their Facebook pages, and no, off the top of my head, I'm afraid I don't know what it is. But they are getting ready to launch a new website. So once that's launched, expect it to be plugged here a lot. And, they'll have links to their social media. Putting on a show March 31st. We'll be competing in Fort Worth against an MLW show that will be in Dallas, or not really Dallas, one of the suburbs, and smaller suburbs. And look, if you're in town for WrestleMania, come to Fort Worth. Fort Worth's a better city. We're prettier. We got more stuff to do. You have to go to the suburbs to do stuff in Dallas, really, if you don't want to go see the JFK stuff. And so, hop on over here. Come see Sundance Square in beautiful downtown Fort Worth. Go see the stockyards. Ride a mechanical bull. Put your kids in jail. Especially put your kids in jail. Eat real barbecue. Eat real steaks. Go to, if you're into more high class but eating stuff, you can go to the shops at Clear Fork. You can go to Crockett Row if you're into more of the nightlife. We got a lot of stuff. So come spend a day in beautiful Fort Worth, Texas, where the West begins.
This episode of the Alliance Guys podcast is presented by the Department of Tourism for Fort Worth, Texas. Make sure you visit them on the web at fortworthtourism.com. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We'll see you at the matches. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.